I want to thank Best Buy for sponsoring this video. What's up, everyone? Be the Installer here with the top TVs of 2023. I'm going to break it down a little bit into, more budget-friendly, mid-tier, and then the absolute best TVs at the end, so stick around to that. But I wanted to go to bestbuy.com because that's where we can buy all these TVs. If you want to do that, links are in the description. And it is a back-to-school deal situation. They got all kinds of cool stuff. I'm going to touch on a couple things from this little page here, but you can click on that back-to-school area. And what that reminds me is back-to-school, sending the kids off to college means you have a new room for a home theater, right? So you got to buy an awesome, flat screen TV. So first TVs I want to talk about is one that we just had in the house. I really like this TV because the TCL Q7 for a 65-inch is only $699. It is significantly discounted from the original $999. I had this TV in the house, the 85-inch version, which is a great price as well, and I'll talk about that in a second. But there's very limited downside to this TCL Q7. It is a QLED. It is not a mini LED, but it's still quite thin. And overall, I was really impressed with it. Google TV operating system. The remote is backlit. It's very bright, and I thought the processing and everything else that we checked out was very good. So I'm a big fan of this, and I don't really have another TV that I'd say, oh, but buy last year's version of it. This is fantastic. For most people, this is the one you could just get. They have it from 55 all the way up to 85 inch. So I'm a big fan of it. And I think that the TCL Q7 is definitely one of, or the best lower budget TVs. You're just not going to find a Samsung or a Sony or an LG that will compete with this price point and at the quality that this TV is. The only one that I've had in the house that's similar or better is this U8K. And a lot of people have asked me to finish a review on this, but really in our unboxings, we give a lot of information about the quality of this TV. And I had said I was as impressed with this TV as pretty much any mini LED QLED I've ever seen. So it is a very good TV, and the price, $1099, down from $1699 for a 65-inch, makes it half the price of most Samsung QLEDs that people talk about and say are the best QLEDs on the planet. So I'd have to say, definitely give this a look. Like, what more do you need to see? We had this 75-inch, which was an ADS type panel, and the 65 and smaller are the VA panels. But I think, the principle behind it is very similar. Improved dimming algorithm from last year on the U8H. It's as bright as the U8H, which was already fantastic with regards to brightness. And another year for Hisense to improve on processing and upscaling and all those things. So again, around $1,100 for a 65-inch. Definitely think it's a good opportunity, and the same thing for the 75-inch. But if you want to go with the absolute best TV that would be considered mid-tier or even, lower priced, I'd have to say that the QM8 from TCL is the TV to get. Now, I haven't even reviewed this. However, I did see it at CES. And since then, I've seen a lot of people compare it to things like the U8K and other TVs. And I've never heard so many people say that this is as close to a reference monitor or to a TV that they were comparing it to that cost 2 or 3 times the price. It is a mini LED QLED with Dolby Vision. And the price point for a 65-inch being $1199 is pretty much unheard of for the major brands when it comes to one of their flagship TVs. And right now it goes all the way up to 85-inch that's available. So for $21.99 for an 85-inch TV that performs at the top of the QLED range, I think it's a no-brainer. And if you want to look at something that's very similar to this, it would be the X90K or X90L from Sony. I would have to say that the QM8 performs better than both of these TVs. Now, people would say that the processing of Sony is better and the quality in general of the brand may be perceived to be better, but I would have to bet that all reviewers out there would say that the QM8 definitely outperforms both of these TVs. And if you look at last year's 85-inch X90K, it's only $200 less. And if you look at this year's X90L at 85-inch, it's actually $600 more than the QM8. So these are the ones that are the best price and probably the best performers from the major, top brand that everyone would be like, oh, Sony LED TV is better, but I don't think so. I think this QM8 is the TV to get, better price than the X90L, and only $200 than last year's X90K. So this is probably my best TV for that mid-range tier. And because they will be having a 98-inch version of this TV, I'm very excited for that. I have reviewed this X90L 98-inch and the TCL R754. both of those are really cool. You know, huge screens, immersive experience. You really can't go wrong if you're going to buy something of this size, but I'm excited for this. So these are 3 TVs to look out for in the 98-inch size, and I'm really excited for that QM8 to come out in that same size as well. So now I'm going to be talking about TVs that are more expensive, mid to upper tier. I'm going to start out with the LG C3. Since I've been reviewing all these TVs, the LG C series has been something that I've always liked, and it's always getting better. Every year it seems to get a little bit better. Again, maybe it's not huge step ups. It doesn't have MLA technology. It's not a QD OLED, but it's consistent and it's very good. And tons of people like this. And it always comes down in price. So really bang for the buck. You're getting an OLED quality picture. You're getting super fast response. Your gaming's amazing. Connectivity is always great. Upscaling's improving. Many reasons why I like this. Currently, it's $300 off, $21.99. However, I'm not sure it's leaps and bounds over last year's. It still is improved, definitely. But when you can get last year's version of this for another $600 off, it also makes me think when I'm doing this, and I think that the LG C3 is fantastic, I should recommend you at least check out the C2 and say, hey, is it, you know, enough improvement to warrant another $600 in price? And I think this is one of the best deals on Best Buy, so I would consider this. It used to be about $2,500, $2,600. Now it's all the way down to $1,600 for a 65-inch. And then another TV that's right there with the C3, but maybe it's slightly better and has similar really great gaming features, is the S90C OLED from Samsung. So this is actually the 2nd generation QD OLED. And I have it up here with last year's S95B because they're very similar with what they offer. And I think both of these are sort of interchangeable. I mean, the S90C on the left is the 2nd gen and the S95B on the right is the 1st generation. But really, I thought this was a great one last year. And now it's $15.99 for a 65-inch. So again, very good price point, exactly the same as that LG C2 from last year. So is it worth paying another $400 to get the S90C this year? Maybe so. They did say that there's going to be improvements in the 2nd generation, but there is some discrepancy whether or not this is always going to have that 2nd generation panel. If it's going to be very similar to this one, then why not just get the S95B of last year? Both of these are really good. Again, gaming features, fantastic, extremely bright, like so bright, I had to like dim it down almost 90% in our bedroom when it was in there. Both of them are fantastic. And for a Samsung TV, this is probably the one that I'm after in that mid-range. I know it's more expensive than most people would consider mid-range, no question, but this is the TV that a lot of people will be going after, either one of these actually. So S95B for most people, $15.99, very good. Otherwise, I'd say the C2 as well. And before I get into the absolute best for 2023 here, you know, no budget included, I wanted to mention that there is this Rocketfish full motion TV wall mount, something that I recommend often. We did a whole video on TV mounts you can check out if you want as well, but this is a good price point and a good quality mount. It's very strong. You know, you can pull it out, extend, turn left or right, but you can still push it very flat. And it does fit anything that does the 600 millimeter by 400 or less with regards to the VISA pattern. Now, you can't put it like a, you know, 24-inch TV on this because these bars will stick out the sides of your TV, but anything it says 40 up to 75, really it's under 100 pounds with these compatibility. I would recommend this, and you can normally get it pretty quickly and it's at stores. So that's one of the accessories I highly recommend. And you can check out my other mount video if you need more. And secondly, I have to mention this Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 Pro because all the new watches came out from Samsung, all the phones and everything. And the one thing that I thought was missing from the new Watch 6 is that they don't have a Pro version. And I absolutely love this Watch 5 Pro. The main thing and the main reason why is because it has an 80-hour battery. So for me, it's lasting 4 or 5 days. And all of the Samsung watches previously have never been able to do that. And it looks like this year, even though they're going to have some cool features and all that, there is no Watch 5 Pro with an 80-hour battery. I think this was $499 when I got it originally, and now it's down to $379. This is a fantastic watch. I highly recommend it for people that are, you know, looking for a little bit bigger of a watch. It's not, you know, super tiny, but it's about the same size as the Classic was, you know, the Watch 3 Classic or different versions of that. But even the Watch 6 Classic is not going to have the 80-hour battery. It's only going to be 40 hours. And it just doesn't work for me to have a watch that only works one day. So I wanted to point this out for anyone that's in the Samsung game looking for a watch. Fantastic opportunity to get this at a discounted price. So now we're on to the last three TVs. And it's very difficult, and I think it's going to be probably the closest like TV shootout race that we've ever had, because all of these TVs boast new features, new technology, and they're fantastic. And I've only seen two of them. The first one is the S95C from Samsung. I think this is a fantastic TV, improved in every way. Thin TV, looks like one of their 8K models, so it's a high-end look to it. It has great speakers on the back. It works with all their Q Symphony sound bars. It is an QD OLED second generation, and it's extremely bright. I think we're reaching over 1500 nits and small specular highlights, but full screen, it's improved brightness, everything about it, fantastic. Upscaling is really good, although the upscaling may be the one thing that I think the next TV is a little bit better at. And also Samsung doesn't have Dolby Vision, so this is a great QD OLED, no Dolby Vision, maybe not quite as good at upscaling as the next TV, but I think fantastic. $3,100 for a 65-inch though, and when you're talking about something like the C2 or even the S95B for half the price, it does make it a little bit more difficult to recommend this, but I think this is probably the third best TV on the planet, and I think a lot of people are going to agree with that and probably buy it. So the S95C, fantastic TV, and it's probably a tiny bit lower than the next TV I'm going to talk about. And that is the LG G3. Now I had the 77-inch version and I was blown away. Fantastic. Pretty much across the board. I really have no complaints. I thought the look of it on the wall was fantastic. I thought the brightness improvement was awesome. There was none of the kind of pink tint that we've had in some of the OLED TVs of the past, so I didn't really notice any of that. And then you have, all the gaming features of the LG C3 and C2. LG is just fantastic with all that anyways. Improved upscaling. It has the new MLA technology, so increased brightness. It's much brighter than it used to be for the G2, or even compared to like the C2 or the B2. Amazing TV. I love it. And if you're going to get something for the wall, this is clearly the one to get because it looks like a picture frame on the wall. Awesome all around. However, it's still so new that the price point isn't really coming down. I think it will come down a little bit as we go forward, but I really don't have anything else to recommend that compares to this, that looks like this on the wall with the MLA technology. So this is a first year sort of thing. I think that the G2 is just fine, but we're talking about different things. And I just said the pink tint that was on that last year, the fact that it doesn't have MLA, the fact that it, was a little bit further down the list with regards to the top TV of last year. But overall, if you want really the best TV, I think this is it. It's at least top two. And finally, we come to the A95L, which is Sony's brand new QD OLED that's coming out in a couple weeks. And the reason that I have it listed here and at the end is because there's no doubt it will be listed as one of or the best TV of the year. It'll be similarly as bright as the G3 and the S95C from Samsung. However, Sony's known for their upscaling, their processing. The TV will likely be the most accurate out of the box and calibrated. So there's no question it'll be listed as one of or the best TV in 2023. But it's looking like it's going to be $5,000 for a 77-inch, which makes it the most expensive that we've talked about so far. But if you're just dead set on waiting for it, I highly recommend it. It's going to be awesome. But there are a couple of TVs that are very similar, and I just want to point them out. One is the A95K from last year. There was very minimal downside to this. The only thing that I can think of is that there wasn't a 77-inch version, so a lot of people that want that larger size are going to wait. But if you're looking at a 65 or a 55, then this $27.99 price for the 65-inch A95K, fantastic. It was $4,000 when it came out, so that's $1,200 off. Highly recommend that. And for those people that don't really need the absolute top of the line Sony, they do have a couple other OLEDs you should look at. And one is the A80L here. This is $22.99 for a 65-inch. So $500 less. So you'd have to make that decision on if you want this year's second tier OLED or last year's highest QD OLED. That's a tough choice, to be honest, and I think you'd be okay with either one of them. This isn't as bright, but it's still an OLED, and it's still better than 95% of other TVs out in the market. So highly recommend either one of these here, and I think you'll be happy. But if you really want to know, I think the A95L will be the best TV this year. And if you want to debate that in the comments, feel free. I'm always happy to have that out, but I really also like the LG G3. So I think it's between those two, with the S95C probably coming in third, but very close third. So make sure you check out the links in the description to go to the back to school deals here, get some stuff for the college kids, but also make sure you get yourself a nice TV for their room when they're gone. And if you still need more help, even though there's like 50 links in the description below with all these TVs, then go to BeTheInstaller.com for the TV quiz, take you through a few questions, pop out a couple that I think are best for you. And I want to thank Best Buy for sponsoring this video. See you on the next one.